Few singers in country music have developed a reputation like Brad Paisley has. He's got just as many hits as his contemporaries, a whole mess of awards, and he's even made music for Pixar films. From down-to-earth hits like Whiskey Lullaby,
the angel sang a whiskey lullaby, la 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 la,
to heartbreakers like I'm Gonna Miss Her.
I'm gonna miss her. I get home.
Brad Paisley has been a mainstay in the scene for decades. But how well do you really know this rockin' raconteur? It turns out there's a lot more to Brad's story than you may know. The guy's always been appreciated for his musical talents since he was a kid, but his personal life is a bit more complicated than most. While he racked up hit after hit, what was going on out of the recording studio? As he battled rumors of infidelity, two-timing lovers, and mysterious stalkers. Let's take a long look at a country music icon, Brad Paisley. If you enjoy our deep dive, please smash that thumbs up icon to show support. And subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. So put your cowboy hat on and let's go find out.
What happened?
A big surprise. It really seemed like the 2000s was going to be Brad's decade. He had just played the Grand Ole Opry for the first time, had his first #1 hit, and won his first Grammy. That was in 2007 for Throttle Neck, but he made his stage debut at the Grammys in 2001 performing We Danced. I mean, what did you get done in the first decade of the 2000s? Not that. But despite this avalanche of success, Brad wasn't satisfied. A lonely country singer is still a lonely country singer, no matter how many plaques he's got on the wall. But love would appear to him in a very unlikely place, right underneath his nose. In an appearance at the Grand Ole Opry, he performed a song with a fellow country singer, Shelley Wright. The two had written it together and the song was a hit. Apparently, they had a blast putting the song together. And one late night, Brad confessed to the blonde bombshell he was madly in love with her. Thankfully, it turned out she had feelings for him too, or at least that's what she told him. But it turned out Shelley was keeping a dark secret that would turn Brad's life upside down. The two began a relationship and fans were delighted to see the pair's chemistry. But just as quickly as things began, they dramatically ended. Shelley mysteriously ended the thing, without even giving Brad a real reason. Of course he was heartbroken, but he's a gentleman and he forgave her pretty quickly. Within a year, he was doing the best he could to get over her and was in a new relationship, this time with an actress named Kimberly Williams. But it wasn't until a decade later that Brad and the world learned the truth about the pair's sudden split. In 2010, Shelley made an announcement that kinda shocked the world. She wasn't straight, she was a lesbian. Apparently, she struggled with her sexuality her whole career. As a child growing up in Kansas, she prayed to God every day to change her, which is just terribly sad. But years later, she finally accepted it. She couldn't keep it a secret. And this explained why she broke things off with Brad.
I dated Brad Paisley and I didn't call him back. I just completely cut him off. And that's the worst thing you can do to a person.
But there's a bit more to the story. Because Shelley began dating him because her previous lover, who she'd been with for 12 years, had decided to end things with her for good. And in despair over losing the only woman, or man for that matter, she'd ever truly loved, she decided to make a dramatic change. Try dating a guy again in Brad. But her lover ended up taking her back and the two were living in a house together before too long. And this was even before she had broken up with Paisley. Family man or cheater? Brad Paisley has made a career off his reputation as a family man. But in 2013, rumors began circulating that put a dent in this spotless image. Word around town was Brad had been cheating on his devoted wife of 10 years, that actress Kimberly Williams Paisley. And if that wasn't bad enough, which it was, Brad's alleged paramour was none other than country star Carrie Underwood, who was co-hosting the CMAs with Brad at that time. Remember, it wouldn't be the first time he got involved with a co-worker. but these were really serious allegations. Brad and his wife had 2 sons, ages 4 and 6, and if he was messing around backstage, he would be tearing his family apart. Furthermore, verified cheating scandals aren't exactly rare in Nashville. Country star Garth Brooks was most likely involved with his current wife Trisha Yearwood, long before he ended things with his first wife. So was there any truth here with Brad? Thankfully, no, there doesn't seem to be any truth there. When Kimberly was asked outright about the allegations, she found them so ridiculous she burst out laughing. In retrospect, it makes sense that Brad would understand how important commitment is to a relationship. In his short-lived fling with Shelley Wright, he had been the victim of two-timing, and it had left him heartbroken. But while Brad turned out not to be a cheater, the rest of the world isn't always as honorable. Let's go learn about a time when Brad and his family tried to do the right thing and nearly paid dearly for it. A life-changing email. The internet, as you know, is often a dark and twisted place. Take it from me, I live here. And to be honest, it's not really meant for good people like Brad Paisley, who has acquired a rep in the music biz for being an all-around decent dude. He's known for his charitable endeavors as well as being a good dad to his kids. But sadly, being a stand-up guy isn't always the most practical attribute to have when you're as high profile as Brad Paisley. And in one instance, Brad's willingness to help his fellow man led him to some dark corners of the internet. It all began in the most innocuous way, by receiving a random email in the inbox. But a guy like Brad gets plenty of emails, so why did he not delete it like we all should? The email was from a woman Brad didn't know. She was a mother, and she said she was desperate, saying her daughter was sick from a rare form of cancer called neuroblastoma. The woman named Carrie wasn't begging for a handout, but she said her sick daughter asked her to get in touch with Brad and his wife. Apparently, the girl was a big fan of theirs, and the mother didn't know who else to turn to. Being a father himself and a kind human, Brad was sympathetic to the woman. He showed his wife the emails, and the two agreed they would do whatever they could to help the troubled tot. But what followed would make them regret that decision. They gave Carrie their phone numbers, and the mom began texting. She sent them journal entries and recordings of songs sung by her sick daughter. It was all a bit too much, and Brad was becoming to be skeptical. The whole thing couldn't be a hoax, could it? It's so dark, it's twisted. But remember, it's the internet. So Paisley insisted that they speak to Carrie on the phone. If she really was a scammer, he reasoned she would either find an excuse not to do so or back off altogether. So he picked up the phone and dialed her. But unfortunately, she picked up. Carrie was not a hoax. Deeper into the rabbit hole. Brad and his wife continued the correspondence, becoming more involved in the lives of these troubled fans. Paisley even sang Amazing Grace on the phone to cheer him up. It was a nice opportunity to brighten the lives of perfect strangers, he thought. Until one morning, Brad got a text from Carrie with terrible news. Her daughter had passed away. The neuroblastoma had won the battle. Brad and his wife Kimberly were heartbroken. At the very least, they said they could send flowers to the funeral of this poor child. But this is when things got weird. The mother refused to give them an address for the funeral. She also began to send cryptic, nonsensical messages, telling the couple not to pray for her. Brad and his wife wanted answers, so they did some snooping, which they should have done way before. The woman who called herself Carrie was, of course, lying the whole time. She didn't even have a daughter. The pictures were of a different kid actually suffering from the rare cancer. Members of the band Little Big Town and Kate Gosselin from John and Kate Plus 8 were also targeted, and the case gained national attention. The show Nightline even investigated, finding out the real identity of the scammer, a woman named Hope Jackson from Wyoming. In fact, Hope had been so successful in her scam of Kate Gosselin that she had an episode of John and Kate Plus 8 dedicated to her after she pretended her daughter died of cancer. But what's really strange about this whole story is that Hope wasn't your average scammer. She wasn't looking for checks or bank account numbers. She wasn't looking for money at all. It appears she was in it for the emotional connection with the celebrities, and did it the only way she could think of. Is this even worse than straightforward scamming? Have you ever been targeted by a scammer? Get in the comments and sound off. Nowadays, it seems like every musician has skeletons in their closet. It's clear that massive success doesn't change you as a person, and if it does, it's usually not for the better. But fortunately, it seems that Brad Paisley has averted this. He appears to be a really good dude, and while he has dealt with a lot of BS, he's always done his best to be the bigger person. So get in the comments and tell me your thoughts on Brad Paisley. And before you go, hit the thumbs up icon if you don't mind. Subscribe to the channel and come back often so we can keep telling you what happened.